and thank you for clicking on today's video. Is your kitchen kind of, or even more than kind of, messy? Do you get stressed out when you open the cupboards and drawers because things are disorganized and just sort of stuffed and piled in there by every member of your household? I tend to think that the kitchen is one of the biggest clutter catchers in the house for most people. And in my life personally, I've seen friends and families definitely hold their kitchen as a point of stress in their life day to day. And I don't have this stress in my kitchen. My kitchen runs pretty smoothly. And I started thinking, because so many of my friends and family have their kitchen as a point of stress, I started thinking what the reason for that might be. What makes my kitchen different? And at first I was just like, minimalism. But then I started thinking about it more because I realized that that answer alone isn't very helpful for most people who want to de-stress their kitchen. So I thought about it a little bit more, and I realized it's because I have so many multitasker products in my kitchen that can do a lot of things while taking up a little bit of space. And I have very few, if any, uni-use items in my kitchen. So today I wanted to share what some of my most used multitasker items in my kitchen are that do a lot of things and take up a small amount of space to hopefully inspire you to declutter and organize your kitchen in a way that is most functional for you and your life. So the first thing on the list are mixing bowls, and obviously mixing bowls are a multiple use item because you can use them for mixing all kinds of different things, from cakes to mixing up salads, whatever it may be. But the reason that I specifically wanted to talk about mixing bowls is because of a mentality switch I had a couple years back. And that is mixing bowls being dual purpose in the sense of decorative bowls. For a very long time, I would think that you needed a decorative salad bowl, nice decorative serving bowls for when you have guests over, in addition to your mixing bowls. So you would make the salad maybe in a mixing bowl and then transfer it over to the nice wooden bowl to be served to your guests. And I find that more often than not, for me personally, my guests don't care what they're eating out of as long as the food is delicious. And instead of wanting to wash two separate bowls just because one of them is more beautiful than the other, I'll usually just make whatever I have to make in that bowl and then serve it as such. And the other things that I use these mixing bowls for are to eat leftovers out of. I use them as a double boiler when I'm melting chocolate or something else like that. I use them to store leftovers, usually with a silicone lid or a plate over top, but you can opt for plastic wrap if you prefer that, or even tin foil, which is more easily recycled. But the point of wanting to bring up the mixing bowls is to just sort of open your mind to see if some of the things in your kitchen can be used for other things that you just hadn't considered before. In my case, it happened to be decorative serving bowls, and just the laziness of me that didn't want to wash two dishes when I had guests over. So just give it a think if mixing bowls can be more than just mixing bowls in your kitchen. So the next thing on the list is a chef's knife. And before you click away completely, because obviously a chef's knife can cut anything in your kitchen pretty much, I wanted to talk about this because I had a moment where I was going to purchase something very expensive that I actually didn't have a use for. And yes, this does, let me not wave the knife at you. Yes, this does still sometimes happen to me, even though I've been practicing a more minimalist and conscious consumerist lifestyle for many years now. And it actually took a comment on TikTok for me to sort of realize how much just a chef's knife is all I really need in the kitchen, with the exception of a couple other knives. So I made a video basically where I was talking about things that I would spend money on and would splurge on as a minimalist, because we talk so often about things that we don't want to spend money on. Thank you, and this is part 3 of things that I would or have splurged on that are aspirational. And I don't have them yet, but I want to get a very expensive knife block, to the tune of $1,000 soon. Part 4, let me know. And one of the things I mentioned was a fancy knife set. And somebody in my comments was like, you don't need all of that unless you're a chef. Even if you're a home cook who cooks twice a day, every day, which is pretty much me, you really only need a chef's knife, a bread's knife, a bread knife, and then a set of steak knives for 6 people or 8 people, however many guests you typically host. And I started thinking about that and realizing that I've gotten by with just this knife, along with a bread knife and a paring knife, for like years. So I don't know why in my head I thought that all of a sudden if I spent $2,000 on a very fancy, super nice German or maybe Japanese knife set, that I would all of a sudden use specific knives for specific tasks as if I was Gordon Ramsay. So I do intend to get one more chef's knife because it's nice to have two, in my opinion. That is something that I think is lacking in my kitchen. But a chef's knife is really, really dual use if you're not somebody who's cooking in a very fancy restaurant and needs to have specific knives for every sort of task. I find that knives, although not difficult to clean, I typically only want to clean one per meal, so one is all that I really need, and it is in the form of a chef's knife, which is this shape right here. And by having less knives in my kitchen, not only do I save some precious real estate on my countertops that would otherwise be occupied by the knife block, but my drawers get to be so much more cleaner because there's not so many knives just kicking into each other as I'm trying to find the chef's knife that I always want to use anyway. If you are still watching this video thus far, thank you so much for continuing to be here. I want to let you know that this video is probably going to appear a little bit cobbled together, and that's because my sweet puppy who's sleeping over there is a little bit sick, so he's having to go. He's fine, don't worry about him. He's being well taken care of, but he's having to go out to the bathroom a lot, and I keep losing my spot where I'm filming. So if you're still here and you're still enjoying this video, thank you so much for being here. And please leave this emoji in the comments to let me know that this video, although not perfect, is still good for you. Additionally, if you are not subscribed, please do subscribe. I'm very, very close to my first major milestone on YouTube, which is 1,000 subscribers. I was hoping to get to that number before my birthday, which is July 13th. Probably won't get there, but you can help me get there very shortly thereafter. I wanted to buy a new camera when I hit 500 subscribers, and then there were some unfortunate events that sucked up all that money. But I have been saving, and I do hope to be able to buy a new camera around the 1,000, maybe 1,200 subscriber mark to be able to produce even better content for you guys. So subscribe not only if you like my content, but to not miss out on the progression of this channel. Thanks so much if you do. Okay, so the next one on the list is actually this French press. And a lot of people think, ah yes, French press, coffee. And you'd be right, but French press can actually do even more than just coffee, and I think people know that, but they don't always remember it. So a French press can also be used really, really easily for loose leaf tea. There was a period in my life where I had my French press, and then I also had a specific water bottle that was like a tea strainer, fancy, whatever. And I found that I didn't need both. The French press does both. So it makes coffee, it makes tea really well, and I've also used it for hot chocolate when I'm making hot chocolate for 2 or more people. So if you are a coffee lover and you already own a French press and maybe other different beverage contraptions, consider if a French press could be an all-in-one for you like it was for me. Additionally, as I was about to put this away, I also remembered one other use case that I use this for in addition to coffee, tea, and hot chocolate, and that is making infused oils for either salad or dressings, whatever it may be. But if you fill up like oil, vinegar, and mustard and go like this, it mixes really beautifully to be able to put on your salad. So if you're making a large quantity of dressing, this can also be really good for that too, meaning that you don't need to have specific bottles for that purpose if you happened to have those. Next on the list are these silicone lids, and I got these from IKEA in a set of 3. And I use them for a lot of things, which is kind of funny because you would think that they're just a silicone lid, they're just a splatter lid, but they're definitely not. So I do use these as splatter lids to prevent things that I'm cooking from splattering all over my kitchen with grease, oil, sauce, whatever. Makes it for an easier cleanup. I did cut these holes in 2 of them in order to allow for ventilation for when I'm using it as a splatter lid, but it does work beautifully for that purpose. So splatter lid, pan lid, check. And I have 3 different sizes. I also will use these as Tupperware or mixing bowl covers. Like I said, I sometimes use mixing bowls along with other bowls as my Tupperware for the day if I either ran out of Tupperware or don't want to transfer what I'm eating into Tupperware because I'm just gonna eat out of that same dish tomorrow anyway. So I'll just pop a silicone lid on top of a bowl, and it creates a tight enough seal that if not knocked around in the refrigerator, it keeps your food very fresh. And just to give you an example of what that looks like with this smaller lid, I would literally just put it like that. You push it down just a bit and it creates just enough of a seal to keep your food fresh. It is not airtight, but it's definitely enough where I've had things like dips that I've made in mixing bowls and then just sort of popped this on top, and they don't go bad, they don't dry out in any way, shape, or form. I also, when I'm cooking with these, I'll flip them over on the counter and use them as a spoon rest, but I don't feel like that's necessarily counting as like an extra use of this item. It just is saving me from doing dishes, which I hate doing, which if you're watching to this part of the video, you've probably already gathered about me. But the reason that I really like these as a multi-use product is because they're also more eco-friendly than the traditional tinfoil or saran wrap that people would often use to cover things like a mixing bowl if you're making bread or storing away a sauce or a dip or whatever it may be. So if you get yourself a set of like $5 silicone lids from either online or mine are from IKEA, you can save yourself money from not buying plastic wrap and tinfoil. You can save a little bit of the environment by not throwing away tinfoil and plastic wrap, and you have a good multi-use item in your home as well if you wanted them. And then the very last item that I wanted to highlight is my mason jars. I don't have anything to hold up for you right now because all of them are actually in use. I got, I believe, a 12-pack from Walmart 3-4 years ago, and I use them for all kinds of different things in my kitchen. I use my mason jars for sauces and dressings that I'm making, and I want to shake them up if I'm making them in a smaller quantity than I want to put into the French press. I use them as my drink cups. They are my main drinking cups that exist within my house. I use them as Tupperware and travel storage for food. Usually it's salads. When I used to go to work, I would put the salad in the mason jar, twist it up, and then go on to work, and it works perfectly as Tupperware, and it's usually a little bit more industrious than Tupperware has been for me in my life as far as like dropping it. It's also great as a travel water bottle and a travel blender bottle. If you are somebody who has a blender bottle because you're mixing up like protein shakes or smoothies or whatever, if you put that same little blender ball inside of a mason jar and give it a shake, it works the exact same way. So if you don't want to wash your blender ball, or if you don't want to wash your blender bottle, you can use a mason jar as a secondary option for that. Another thing that I use them for is homemade spices. I will occasionally grow and dry my own spices, and then I need somewhere to store them. I like mason jars because they're airtight, so they keep the spices fresh for longer. I will sometimes infuse olive oils in my mason jars, where I'll do some sort of an infusion, put it in the pantry, let it sit. Again, it's airtight, so bacteria and stuff isn't getting into whatever's in there, which is really good. And then of course their original purpose, which is actual canning. I don't personally can myself. I don't have the time for that right now, but I would love to learn that skill later in life. But obviously, in addition to everything else that I use my mason jars for, they can be used for their original purpose, which is canning goods. All right, and that's gonna be it for my most used multitasker kitchen items. Now, by making this video, I am not telling you to go out and run and buy all of these. The purpose of this video is just to show you sort of the thought process of how you can work in your kitchen with less stuff and more space by rethinking some of the items that you may have not thought could do more than one thing. If you've made it to this part of the video, please in the comments down below, let me know what your favorite kitchen item is, whether it's a uni-use item or a multitasker item. I do read all the comments, so I am curious to see what you guys have to say. And with all of that being said, I will see you soon with another video. Bye!